I just want to share a story with you, and it's a personal story that I went through within a guidance when we were going through something with my family, when we were all going through this together. Now, our children, they used to go to school, and it came to the point where our eldest daughter was about to go to high school. So we went along to the auditorium to be introduced to the teachers there. It was all the parents went for this meeting before their child joined high school next year. Anyway, we're sitting in the auditorium, and there's me, there's the girls, and then there's my husband Pete. The headmaster came out, and the first thing they said was, "It's not okay to be away." And my inner guidance, I just sunk. I thought, this feels horrible. And I remember looking at Pete. He turned to look at me, and we're like, what? This is not normal. Because during school holidays, or during school hours, I should say, that's when we used to go on our holidays, because there was hardly any people around, which was more enjoyable for us, and it felt good, okay? But this in the auditorium, it's not okay to be away. It felt horrible. So we went through the whole hour or two of talking about high school next year, and the more we heard, the worse it felt. So at the end of it, we came home, and we said to our eldest, we said, if you want to go to high school, that's fine, you can do that, but we won't be taking as many holidays because you get points taken off you and all this stuff that the high school was saying. So we'd have to holiday during school holidays with the crowds, etc. And that's fine too. We can do that. Inside, I was thinking, I don't want to do that because it's just stressful when there's too many people around. So we put that option to her, or we could try homeschooling. Now that, again, just like that video up above, inside it excited me, but at the same time, I was terrified. I didn't know how to be a school teacher, because that's how I thought I'd have to play back then, But I kept following inner guidance all the way. Anyway, the eldest, she goes, "Can I try this homeschooling thing?" Because the whole family, we loved our holidays. We'd go everywhere all the time together, and we'd just always have so much fun. Anyway, she goes, "Can I try homeschooling? And if I don't like it, can I go to school?" I said, "Yes, of course, of course, of course." And me and Pete agreed. And so then inside I'm thinking, getting excited, yay, but also, oh God, how am I going to do this? But then again, quietening the mind and tuning into energy. Anyway, the next year came, and the high school had our daughter's name on the list. They had her enrolled there because that night at the auditorium, we filled out all the papers and we went with the flow of that. After that, we made the decision, try homeschooling. But then when the new year came and our eldest didn't turn up for school, I got a phone call saying, "Your daughter's not here and she needs to be here because she's enrolled." And I said, "Well, we've decided to do homeschooling." And they said, "Well, we need paper proof that she's enrolled in another system, basically." And I'm thinking, what? So then I learned about homeschooling departments. So I had to join home education system that we have here in Queensland. But the thing is, with the schooling system and how we didn't turn up for school, and I waited a while, and I felt bad. It was the systems. It didn't feel good at all, jumping from one system to another system, and I didn't want to do that. Meanwhile, the high school kept ringing every day, "Your daughter's not here. We need a piece of paper." And this went on for a couple of weeks because I was just still thinking, I don't want to be in the system. Inside me, it doesn't want to be in the system. And then the high school started threatening me with truancy and police. "Your daughter's not here. She's playing truancy. We're going to send police to your house." And I just everything inside of me took over at that point, and I went off in the nicest possible way. And I said to them, I said, everything inside my soul is saying that this is not good for us. And this is how I spoke. They must have thought I was an absolute nutcase, but I really didn't care. This was coming from my heart. I'm thinking, no way am I going to put our kids into a system like that. I mean, this is where we were coming from. I know schooling systems are wonderful for many, many people. This is just not how we rolled, okay? So no offense, okay? If you have your kids or you yourself are in a schooling system, great. If you're learning from it and you're loving it, fantastic, good. You're following your inner guidance. It's excellent. And all of us are different, which is why we have so many different experiences around on the planet, and it's meant to be this way. But I'm talking about my experience here, okay? Anyway, I ended up enrolling her into the home education system, which otherwise it was just bully, bully, bully the whole way through. And I said to them, I said, I don't want to bring any of the schooling system into our house. And they go, well, how are you going to teach her? I said, well, she's going to learn about life from life itself. And this is what we did on our holidays. There was always stuff to learn on holidays when we're walking in the forests, rainforest walks. We'd go camping a lot, okay, when they were younger. But we'd also take different holidays on cruise ships, just different hotels, holidaying with the dogs, etc., family fun parks. And everything had a learning curve to it. Even us as adults, me and Pete would always learn something from our family unit and from the experiences around us. So this is what I said to the home education people. And they said, which was great, they said you can do a natural learning approach. And I'm like, okay, what's that? Something inside was like, oh, this feels all right. And they said, but you have to have at least one maths, one English, and one of something else that they learn about. And I needed to fill out reports every year to send it off to the home education people. That didn't feel good, but it had to be done just to keep them off our backs. So for our maths, what we did when we got into our homeschooling, well, actually in the very beginning, I set it up like a classroom because I didn't know what to do. And I was honest with the kids. I said, I really don't know what to do, but we're going to learn some stuff. And, you need to work with me here, because if you're not going to work with me, mummy's going to crumble and you'll probably end up going to school. And they go, that's all right, mum. We'll try. We'll do our best and all of this. I thought, great. So I set up a little classroom in one of our spare rooms. I even had a whiteboard. They had pens and papers and all this. And that's how we started homeschooling. And it didn't feel good. I didn't like it. And it took me a while to just let go of everything. Letting go of everything felt really good, okay? And letting the kids learn what they wanted to learn, okay? For maths, the youngest one, she started homeschooling as well, and she hated the books. She was not a book person. The eldest one, she loved her books. So there was two different ways of teaching here. There was a lot of online tools that we used, and if you're going to get into home education for your child, I remember back then, I don't know if it's still going, but it was called Study Ladder, and they brought Study Ladder home. It's something that they were using at school, and they had fun on that. It's all done on the computer, so if it's still available in Australia, you can do a search for Study Ladder and see how that goes if you want to get into that kind of option. But I also had to give something to the home education unit once a year. So I remember one year for our maths, we put on it was called Big Day Out, and we've got 52 houses in our street, and all 52 homes were invited to have a garage sale on this one day. So it was a 52 house garage sale. I think we got about, 27, 30 houses that agreed to it. So that was massive. But what the kids had to do, they had to door knock, and I was with them. They door knocked on every door. They had to say, talk about the big day out. Do you want to join it? And it cost $10. The $10 would go towards the ad in the paper and signs that we all built ourselves and we put all around the place. So they learnt about communication, they learnt about money exchange, and they learned about a little bit of marketing. All right. And 52 houses, knocked on all those doors, and they got to know people. We got to know the street, which was fantastic. And then the big day came around and they had their own stall. So they had a clear out of all their toys, some crafting items that they've made as well, plants, etc. You know the drill. Anyway, having these markets out the front of our house for ourselves and waving to the neighbours across the road, it was packed. People were coming up and down in cars all day long. It was incredible. And the girls were selling their stuff. So again, here's money exchange, here's maths. And this is what I wrote down and gave to the home education unit. And they were happy with that because there was maths involved, there was subtraction, they had to think on their feet, there was addition, etc. They had to put money aside. We also put money in for, because they used to buy beads off eBay and make bracelets and make these kinds of things here as well. This is not one of them, but our youngest started doing all of that. She ended up actually holding workshops as well at, how old was she? About 12 years old when she held her first workshops and making these. So it was great. We were having so much fun. And for English, I'd get them to write a story. And, oh, bless her. I remember our youngest wrote a beautiful story. I can't remember what it was about. And I read it and I looked at it. I said, oh, that's awesome. I said, I'm going to submit this to the home education unit. She took those papers off me and she just went, rip. She goes, they're not getting that, Mum. Because, oh my gosh, I wonder where she got that from. Anyway, I wasn't allowed to submit that. She ended up, I said, well, I've got to send them something. And she goes, I'll get you something that you can send them. And she was only young. This might have been when we first started. She was 9, so she might have been about 10 years old when she did this. She ended up writing a letter to the home education people about how she feels about why she has to send all this stuff. She goes, it shouldn't have to be this way. Oh, and she was in tears, but all this emotion was coming out on this paper, and she was really getting up them. And I read it, and I thought, ooh. And she goes, that's what you're going to send. I said, righto. So I sent that off, and they accepted it. It was a writing. It was from the heart. Oh, my gosh. Oh, God. Oh, gee. But also, what our children did is, the youngest went with animals and the oldest went with working with children. And that's what they're doing to this day, and they're in their 20s now. But I'm getting them to think for themselves, follow what they're passionate about, going after these dreams that they have. And this was them using their inner guidance, but also their heart, following their heart. And for me and Pete, it was shutting up and letting go of the way society thinks that we need to be. Yeah. So being able to let go, for me, being able to let go of being a helicopter parent, I suppose. It's the youngest said, Mum, don't be a helicopter parent. I've learned so much from our kids, and I still do to this very day. But that homeschooling journey from the very beginning, that was big on feeling the way, big on inner guidance. So again, if you come up against something that's big in your life, be aware of the excitement and the fear. Go for the excitement. Yeah, get out of the head, go for the excitement, the inner guidance from you. And if you're going through homeschooling, I hope that helped. I know I went off track there a bit, but hey, sharing stories, and I'm feeling good about it. So yeah. And one more thing, during our homeschooling journey, I created a process for the kids to go through, and I turned it into a PDF or a Word document. And you can print that out if you're going through the same kind of thing. It's for your children to go through. It gets them to experience different cultures, different ways of thinking for themselves. different ways of converting money, of telling time, etc. So there's a lot of learning going on there, and it's fun, and it's all done online. I'll put that down below, and you can print that out for your children if you are also doing homeschooling, home education, or just for a rainy day project if your kids are into doing research for themselves. Yeah, from as young as 6 years old. Okay, but 6 years old, they might need a little bit of help. But anyway, see, it's free. Check it out if you like.